clothed us, and we are in our right minds. And I am just thankful for that, not just for me, but for everyone, because He is an awesome, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious God. This is a day that He has made, and I'm rejoicing and I'm glad in this day. And I am going to continue. Trouble doesn't last always, and this is the second part of this. Trouble doesn't last always. And I'm going to go to the book of Job, and I'm going to do a little refresher here. And last week when I did the first, I think it was the first 5 chapters of Job. And I am going to go back and review some of that because he had trials and tribulations. You know, Satan went before God. When the sons of men were going before God, they were giving their reports and everything and possibly getting their assignments. And Satan had the nerve to go up there among them before God. And God asked him, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" And he said, "I'm walking to and fro on the earth seeking whom I may devour." And God said to him, asked him a question. Have you considered my servant Job? Have you considered that God recommended, I'm saying he recommended, because he had confidence in Job. He said, have you considered him? He's an upright man. He eschews evil. He stays away from evil. He's a good man. He lives a righteous life. Have you considered him? And he said, oh, he said, you got a hedge around him. Said, but if you take that hedge from around him, you take that hedge of protection from around him, I'll make him curse you to your face. God said, all right, go ahead, but don't mess with his life. So I am going to get there to Job. I had it all pulled up last night, but I am going to have to pull it up again. I see. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Well, I am going to have to pull it up, but that's okay. We have time. We have until 8 a.m. by the grace of God. Excuse me. Okay. Now, he lived in Uz, and some say Uz, but I'm saying Uz, U-Z, okay? Not Oz. It's U-Z, okay? His name was Job. He was perfect. You hear me? Perfect and upright. He feared God, and he eschewed evil, means he stayed away from evil. And he had all these sheep, he had all these camels, he had all this yoke of oxen, he had she-asses, and a great household. He had lots of servants, and he had 10 children. And so we know about his sons, and they would feast. Each one would take their turn feasting in their house. They would eat and enjoy each other. They would invite the 3 sisters to come along, and they would just enjoy each other. And so he said the sons were feasted in their houses, everyone is day, and sit and called their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And then what Job would do, he knew his children were partying, and just in case they sinned against God, he would consecrate them and he would pray and send offerings up to God for his children, just in case they sinned. So we went through that. And then here Job is sitting there, minding his own business, being grateful for what God has given him. And he was making good with what he had. He would share with people. He would comfort people. He would encourage people. He was doing, because God said he was perfect and upright. This is the Almighty Maker, said he is perfect and upright. Job was doing what he needed to do to please God. And he was helping people. And then the Sabaeans came. They took away much of his things. The lightning struck. The Chaldeans came. And all this time, there was always one person left to tell the story. And that's what I say whenever I get a chance and have a conversation, and it comes up in a conversation, I say there's always somebody left to tell the story. Okay? There's always somebody left to tell the story. And so people need to be aware and be know that that is a fact. There's always somebody left to tell the story. Okay, so now all this is going on. And then while we get down here to the end part of 1, Job arose and rent his mantle because a great wind had come and it killed his children. So he rose up, he tore his clothes, he shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground, and he still worshiped. And he said, this is what the man said. This is a perfect and upright man who feared God and eschewed evil. He worshiped after all of this calamity, all of this tragedy, took everything he had, he said, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And it said, in all of this, Job did not sin. He didn't sin after all of this. And people were probably watching and just waiting on him, because his wife came to him, his companion, the one, his most trusted, probably his companion, his life's mate, supposed to be, came to him. Then okay, here we go in the second verse. Then the sons of the second chapter, the sons of men, they went before God again, the sons of God, came to present themselves before God. Satan came along with them, came right on to present himself before the Lord. And then God said to him, from whence comest thou? And he said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man? Again, God is recommending Job, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. He says, he recommended him again, asked him, have you considered him? Say, even though you made me move, well, you moved me against him. I gave you permission to do what you did. He said, but he still has not sinned. He still holds on to his integrity. Can God recommend us? Can he recommend you? Can he recommend me like he recommended Job? Can he do that? That's a question. That's a big question. That's a big question. Something to really consider. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yeah, all that a man has will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. Okay, go ahead. Try him again. But one thing you cannot do, don't mess with his life. Okay? Satan went out from the presence of God. He smote Job with sore boils. Oh my. From the sole of his feet to the crown of his head, all over his body, all over sore boils. And so that it seems like it's like puffy. You've seen a blister, like I'm seeing that in my mind, all over his body with fluid in them and everything. This is what Job did. He took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then his wife came to him, and she's looking at him, said, do you still hold on to your integrity? This is his wife talking to him. Do you still hold on? Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. And like I was saying last week, I don't know whether this was out of what is sympathy for him or out of her heartbreak for him or why she just, I mean, I don't know. But anyway, this is what she suggested. Why don't you just curse him, die, get it over with? And Job told her, you sound like one of the foolish women. You sound like one of the foolish women. He said, shall we get good at the hand of God and not receive evil? He said, in all this, Job did not sin. After all of this, he did not sin. Okay, now, Job has three friends. I'm going back over this because I need to. Three friends that heard about him, heard about his troubles, trials, tribulations. They came and they looked. They didn't recognize Job. They did not recognize him. He was in such physical agony and pain and these sore boils all over his body. And he's sitting there scraping, and trying to get some ease, just scraping, and talking to himself and just trying. So when they got there, when they got there, they had come to mourn, but when they got there, they lifted up their eyes from afar. They didn't know him and they wept. Then they tore their clothes, their mantles, okay? And then they sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they sat down upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights and didn't say one word, nary a word. Just sat there watching Job, observing Job in his misery for 7 days and 7 nights. Nary a one of them spoke a word. That nary, I got that word from grandma. Our grandmother used to say nary, meaning none, nothing. So after this, Job started talking, and in the third verse, and third chapter, and he started talking about and cursing the day that he was born. If he's coming to this, why did I have to be born? Why did I have to be conceived? Why couldn't I just die? Even after I was conceived, since I was conceived, why did I have to come forth alive? Why wasn't I stillborn? Why didn't I just not exist if it's going to come to this in my life? And the verse that really sticks with me, and like I was saying, I believe, but we think about this, we might not want to admit it, but we all have some kind of fear of something. And what Job said in the 25th verse of the third chapter, for the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. That thing that he greatly feared has come up on him. The thing that he feared the most, the thing I did everything I could. I've lived a life, but I've had this thing in my mind, and I feared it coming up on me, and it is here. It is here. It's up on me right now. And I believe we all have some kind of fear, something. And I know, and we don't know from one microsecond to the next. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being with me. I'm not able to, I'm just using two devices this morning. So I thank you for watching me, whichever uh, stream you're watching me on, whether it be Facebook, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitch, or whether it's Twitter. I really appreciate you for being with me. Okay, so there are things, sickness, and I think that might be the most feared thing, sickness. And then Job he had thought about this. He was so blessed, but he said that thing that I feared has come upon me. Is here, is finally here upon me. And so we go to the fourth chapter. Then Eliphaz, the Temanite, he's going to put his 2 cents in. And he's going to tell him, this is the fourth chapter, he tells him that I've never known a righteous person to have to go through something like this. Sinners get their pay like this. They get punishment like this. I've never seen the righteous have to go through this. Now, this is him putting his in there, okay? And we know this is desperation and all of that, but to me, it seems like judgment too. So he said, I'm going to go down here. If God places no trust in his servants, if he charges his angels with error, how much more those who live in houses of clay, whose foundations are in the dust, who are crushed more readily than a moth? Between dawn and dusk, they are broken to pieces. I notice they perish forever. Are not the cords of the tent pulled up so that they die without wisdom? And so what he's saying here, he said, behold, he put no trust. Shall a mortal man be more just than God? This is the 17th verse of the 4th chapter. He said, shall a man be more pure than his maker? Shall he? So he's doing the best he can, saying what he's saying, but this is not helping Job at all. And we'll see, because trouble doesn't last always. One way or the other, that trouble is going to end. And so now, he said, call now. This is the 5th. If there be any that will answer thee, and to which of the saints wilt thou turn? For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. He said, call if you will, but who will answer you? To which of the holy ones will you turn? Resentment kills a fool, and envy slays the simple. I myself have seen a fool taking root, but suddenly his house was cursed. My God. He said, his children are far from safety, and they are crushed in the gate, neither is there any to deliver them. Whose harvest the hungry eateth up, and taketh it even out of the thorns, and the robber swalloweth up their substance. Although affliction cometh not forth of the dust, neither doth trouble spring out of the ground, yet man is born unto trouble as the sparks fly upward. I would seek unto God, and unto God would I commit my cause, which doeth great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number, who giveth rain upon the earth and sendeth waters upon the fields, to set up on high those that are low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their entrance. He taketh the wise. Oh, this is a speech, isn't it? He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime from their mouth and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor hath hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. Behold, happy is the man whom God correcteth. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty, for he maketh sore and bindeth up. He woundeth, and his hands make whole. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. Thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. And then on down here, he tells Job, he said, thou shalt come to the grave in a full age, like as the shock of corn cometh in his season. Lo, this we have searched it, so it is. Hear it, know thou, for thy good. He said, you will know that your tent is secure. He goes all this, that you will know that your property is secure, your stock, your property, find nothing missing. You will know that your children will be many, and your descendants. And he, to me, it seems like he's prophesying, but he doesn't know he's prophesying, because it seems like he's in a mode of judgment. Okay? I said, it seems like, okay? Now, he said, you will come to your grave in full vigor, like sheaves gathered in seasons. He said, we have examined this. It is true. So hear it and apply it to yourself. Now I'm going to get on to 6. But Job answered and said, Oh, that my grief were thoroughly weighed, and my calamity laid in the balances together. He said, for now it would be easier than the sand of the sea. Therefore, my words are swallowed up. For the arrows of the Almighty are within me. The poison whereof drinketh up my spirit. The terrors of God do set themselves in array against me. Doth the wild ass brave when he hath grass, or loweth the ox over his fodder? He said, can that which is unsavory be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste in the white of an egg? He said, the things that my soul refused to touch are as my sorrowful meat. Oh, that I might have my request, and that God would grant me the thing that I longed for, even that it would please God to destroy me, that he would let loose his hand and cut me off. This man is in agony. This man didn't do anything. He did not deserve this, but because God has confidence in him, God knows him because he made him, and he knows that he will stand the test, okay? Can he say that about you and me? Can we stand the test? This is awful, 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 awful. This is an awful thing that he had to go through. And then he said, should I have comfort? He said, um, I would harden myself in sorrow. Let him not spare, for I have not concealed the words of the Holy One. What is my strength that I should hope, and what is mine end that I should prolong my life? Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh of brass? Is not my help in me, and is wisdom driven quite from me? To him that is afflicted, pity should be showed from his friend, but he forsaketh the fear of the Almighty. My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook, and as a stream of brooks they pass away, which are blackish by reason of the ice, and wherein the snow is hid. What time they wax warm, they vanish. When it is hot, they are consumed out of their place. The paths of their way are turned aside. The troops of Timon look the companies of Sheba and waited. There's so much going on here. He said, my friends, they're supposed to have pity on me. He said, did I say bring unto me or give a reward for me of any substance? He's asking them. He said, I'm thinking about was it Oprah? Was it Miss Seeley? She said, I didn't ask you, I didn't even ask you for your sorry hand in marriage. Job is saying to them, have I ever given said, give something on my behalf, pay a ransom for me from your wealth? He said, deliver me from the hand of the enemy, rescue me from the clutches of the ruthless. He said, teach me, and I will be quiet. Show me where I have been wrong. How painful the honest words. But what do your arguments prove? Do you mean to correct what I say and treat my desperate words as wind? He said, you would even cast lots for the fatherless and barter away your friend. He said, but now be so kind as to look at me. Would I lie to your face? He said, relent, do not be unjust, reconsider, for my integrity is at stake. Is there any wickedness on my lips? He said, can my mouth not discern malice? Look at me. Do you see any evil in me? I haven't asked you for a thing. Didn't ask you for anything. As a matter of fact, he didn't even ask them to come. They heard about him and they came. They came to him. He said, is there not an appointed time for man upon the earth? Are not his days also like the days of an hireling? Remember, trouble doesn't last always, okay? As a servant earnestly desireth the shadow, as an hireling looketh for the reward of his work. He says, so am I made to possess months of vanity, and wearisome nights are appointed to me. See, when I lie down, I say, when shall I arise, and the night be gone? And I am full of tossings to and fro unto the dawning of the day. My flesh is clothed with worms and clouds of dust. My skin is broken. He's in a horrible situation here. He's in a horrible situation. But remember, trouble doesn't last always. God recommended him. He asked him, have you considered my servant Job? He's an upright man. He fears God, he fears me, he stays away from evil. He said, I'm going to give you permission. He said, but don't mess with his life. You can't have his life. He said, so Job is saying, my flesh is clothed with worms and clods of dust. My skin is broken and become loathsome. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle and are spent without hope. Oh, remember that my life is winged. Mine eye shall no more see good. The eye of him that has seen me shall see me no more. Thine eyes are upon me, I am not. And so what he said, remember, O God, that my life is but a breath. My eyes will never see happiness again. He's right now, it seems that he's at the point of hopelessness. The eye that now sees me will see me no longer. You will look for me, but I will be no more. He said, as a cloud vanishes and is gone, so one who goes down to the grave does not return. He will never come to his house again. His place will know him no more. And we know all the years that we've lived and we've seen people that we love, people that we don't. We've heard of people that we don't know. With people that we know that they've gone to the grave, that they have left this earth through death, and they have not come back. We see them in dreams, but physically, they have not come back. He says, so therefore I will not keep silent. He said, I will speak out in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I the sea or the monster of the deep under guard? He said, when I think my bed will comfort me and my couch will ease my complaint, even then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me with visions. He said, so that I prefer strangling and death rather than this body of mine. I despise my life. I will not live forever. Let me alone. My days have no meaning. He's in agony. He said, what is mankind that you make so much of them, that you give them so much attention, that you examine them every morning and test them every moment? So what is that? So will you never look away from me or let me alone even for an instant? He said, if I have sinned, what have I done to you? You who see everything we do, he's talking now. Why have you made me your target? Have I become a burden to you? Talking to God, okay? Have I become a burden to you? Why do you not pardon my offenses and forgive my sins? For I will soon lie down in the dust. You will search for me, but I will be no more. He's in a desperate situation. Why is this happening? Why'd you do? Okay, then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, how long, this is the other one talking, the friend, okay? How long wilt thou speak these things? And how long shall the words of thy mouth be like a strong wind? Doth God pervert judgment? Or doth the Almighty pervert justice? If thy children have sinned against him, and he have cast them away for their transgression, if thou wouldest seek unto God betimes and make thy supplication to the Almighty, if thou wert pure and upright, surely now he would awake for thee and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous. They said, if, he said, if. He said, but if you seek God earnestly and plead with the Almighty, if you are pure and upright, even now he will rouse himself on your behalf and restore you to your prosperous state. But these are his friends, okay, quote, end quote, his friends. If, this is what he's saying, if you're this, if you're pure and upright, even now he will rouse himself on your behalf and restore you to your prosperous state. If. People can be something else when they don't understand, when they don't know. But this was Job's trial. Do you think any of those three could have made this trial, could have gone through this trial? Remember, trouble does not last always. It doesn't. He said, though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should greatly increase. He said, for inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to search to the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday and know nothing, because our days upon earth are a shadow. Shall not they teach thee and tell thee and utter words out of their heart? He said, can the rush grow up without mire? Can the flag grow without water? He's asking all these questions. So he said, whilst it is yet in his greenness and not cut down, and withereth before any other herb. So are the paths of all those. So they go on, he's talking, they giving all this wisdom and everything. He said, if he destroy him from the place, then he shall deny him, saying, I have not seen him. God will not cast away a perfect man. This is where I'm going to get to. God will not, behold, in the 20th verse, he's telling them, God will not cast away a perfect man, neither will he help the evildoers, till he fill thy mouth with laughing and thy lips with rejoicing. They that hate thee shall be clothed with shame, and the dwelling place of the wicked shall come to naught. And so he says, surely God does not reject one who is blameless or strengthen the hands of the evildoer. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouts of joy. Your enemies will be clothed in shame, and the tents of the wicked will be no more. Now he's saying these words, but we're going to get on down the line, down the road, and he's going to find out that what he's saying, even though he calls himself a friend, but we're going to find out that this is going to turn on him too. Then here's what Job said. He said, I know it is so of a truth, but how should a man be just with God? He said, if he will contend with him, he cannot answer him one of a thousand. He said he is wise in heart and mighty in strength, who hath hardened himself against him and hath prospered. And so what he's saying, he said, his wisdom is profound, his power is vast. Who has resisted him out unscathed? Who? Tell me who? And so he said he moves mountains without their knowing it and overturns them in his anger. He can move mountains, and the mountain doesn't even know that it's been moved. That's the almighty power of God. That's God. He moves mountains, and mountains don't even know they have been moved. He shakes the earth from its place and makes its pillars tremble. He speaks to the sun and it does not shine. He seals off the light of the stars. He can do anything he wants to, anytime he wants to, however he wants to do it. He alone stretches out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He said he is the maker of the bear and Orion, the planets, and the constellations of the south. He performs wonders that cannot be fathomed, miracles that cannot be counted. He's talking about God Almighty. So when he passes me, I cannot see him. When he goes by, I cannot perceive. And if he snatches away, who can stop him? Nobody has power over God. God has all the power. Nobody has power over God. He's an awesome God, and like I say, he's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And Job is really talking. He said, God does not restrain his anger. Even the cohorts of Rahab cowered at his feet. So how then can I dispute with him? How can I find words to argue with him? Though I were innocent, I could not answer him. I could only plead with my judge for mercy. I'm innocent, but I still can't argue with him. I can only plead to him for mercy because I cannot handle him. What God does, he does, and nobody can do anything about what God does. He said, even if I summon him, and he responded, he said, I do not believe he would give me a hearing. He would crush me with a storm and multiply my wounds for no reason. He's letting you know this is the power of God. This is the power of God. He said, though I were perfect, yet would I know my soul. I would despise my life. He said, if I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse. And see, he didn't have the big head. Even though he was an upright man, he feared God, he stayed away from evil, he was an humble man. So if it is a matter of strength, he is mighty. And if it is a matter of justice, who can challenge him? Even if I were innocent, my mouth would condemn me. If I were blameless, it would pronounce me guilty. Although I am blameless, I have no concern for myself. I despise my own life. The man is in agony. He's in agony. Good morning. Thank you for being with me. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, trouble doesn't last always, even though Job is going through this. And some people have said this is kind of like a story, or what is it? I've heard some people say this is not a real story or whatever. But I don't know. I believe it's a story because it's teaching us lessons. Every time we read it, it's teaching us lessons. Although I'm blameless, I have no concern for myself. I despise my own life. It is all the same. That is why I say he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. When a scourge brings sudden death, he mocks the despair of the innocent. When a land falls into the hands of the wicked, he blindfolds its judges. If it is not he, then who is it? He said, my days are swifter than a runner. They fly away without a glimpse of joy. My goodness. They skim past like boats of papyrus, like eagles swooping down on his prey. He said, if I say I will forget my complaint, I will change my expression and smile. He said, I still dread all my sufferings, for I know you will not hold me innocent. He said, so since I am already found guilty, why should I struggle in vain? Even if I washed myself with soap and my hands with cleansing powder, you would plunge me into a slime pit so that even my clothes would detest me. Whatever I do, no matter what I do, you'll do what you want to do whenever you want to do it and however you want to do it. So my efforts would be futile. It would be of no profit, no progress to me. If I do this, you're going to do what you want to do. He said, he is not a mere mortal like me, that I might answer him, that we might confront each other in court. If only there was someone to mediate between us, someone to bring us together, someone to remove God's rod from me so that his terror would frighten me no more. Then I would speak up without fear of him. But as it now stands with me, I cannot. My goodness, if I had a mediator, and you know what? We have a mediator. Who is our mediator? Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. Job, he said, my soul is weary of my life. I will leave my complaint upon myself. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say unto God, do not condemn me. Show me wherefore thou contendest with me. Let me know. What he said is, he said, I loathe my life. He said, I'll give free rein to my complaint. He said, and speak out in the bitterness of my soul. He said, I say to God, do not declare me guilty, but tell me what charges you have against me. He said, is it good unto me that thou should oppress, that thou shouldest despise the work of thine hands, and shine upon the counsel of the wicked? Hast thy eyes of flesh, or seest thou as man seeth? He's asking him, God, I want to understand. I want to understand. Are thy days as the days of man? Are thy years as man's days? And we might not get this right now. Some might not get this right now, but I guarantee that it's going to come to you. And then when something comes up, then you will remember this. You will remember, said, Job, Job, Job. And he's asking, does it please you to oppress me, to spurn the work of your hands, while you smile on the plans of the wicked? Do you have eyes of flesh? Do you see me as a mortal sees? He said, are your days like those of a mortal? Are your years like those of a strong man, that you must search out my faults and probe after my sin? Though you know that I am not guilty and that no one can rescue me from your hand. He said, I know. Job knew in his heart, he knew in his mind, he knew with his every being that he had done the best that he could in pleasing God. And he had made it a point not to sin against God, and to be thankful, and to cover all his bases. He covered all his bases. And now remember, Job knows this, and God knows this too. This is why God asked the devil, have you considered my servant Job? He's a perfect, he's an upright man. He fears me, and he eschews evil. He stays away from evil. You see, and so Job goes on and said, your hand shaped me and made me. Will you now turn and destroy me? Remember that you molded me like clay. He said, will you now turn me to dust again? Did you not pour me out like milk and curdle me like cheese, clothe me with skin and flesh, and knit me together with bones and sinews? He said, you gave me life and showed me kindness, and in your providence watched over my spirit. You did this for me, God. You did this. But this is what you concealed in your heart. And I know that this was in your mind. If I sinned, you would be watching me and would not let my offense go unpunished. He said, if I am guilty, woe to me. Even if I am innocent, I cannot lift my head, for I am full of shame and drowned in my affliction. God, I'm having a hard time. He said, if I'm guilty before you, I'm guilty. He said, if I'm guilty, and even if I'm innocent before you, you can still do what you want to do at any time that you want to do it. He said, if I hold my head high, he said, you stalk me like a lion and again display your awesome power against me. He said, you bring new witnesses against me and increase your anger toward me. Your forces come against me, wave upon wave, just back to back to back to back. They're coming up on me. He said, why then did you bring me out of the womb? Why did you let me be born? If you were going to bring me to this, God, why did you let me be born? He said, if only I had never come into being, or had been carried straight from the womb to the grave. He said, if I didn't even live. He said, why? He said, are not my few days almost over? He said, turn away from me so I can have a moment's joy. before I go to the place of no return, to the land of gloom and utter darkness, to the land of deepest night, of utter darkness and disorder, where even the light is like darkness. My goodness. And why did I have to be born? Why did you let me be born to come to this? And you can think about people, and we've all, well, I don't know whether all, but most of us have seen people when they're going through their sickness, when they're going through misery. And I remember, and I say this again, one of my pastors said, be it but for the grace of God, there go I. And you know, I say, we don't know. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with me. We don't know from 1 microsecond to the millisecond to the second what's going to happen. We can be speaking now, and then we could be gone now. Okay? So we don't know what's going to happen. Job was going through. So then now here's the third one going to talk to Job. We're in the 11th chapter. Zophar, the Naamathite, said, should not the multitude of words be answered? And should a man full of talk be justified? Should thy lies make men hold their peace? And when thou mockest, shall no man make thee ashamed? They sat there for 7 days and 7 nights. They were just about overwhelmed with seeing Job, their friend, in such agony, such misery. They didn't recognize, he was unrecognizable to them. They saw all this. He said, so are these words to go unanswered? Is this talker to be vindicated? Will your idle talk reduce others to silence? He said, will no one rebuke you when you mock? You say to God, my beliefs are flawless and I am pure in your sight. He said, oh, how I wish that God would speak, that he would open his lips against you and disclose to you the secrets of wisdom, for true wisdom has two sides. Know this, God has even forgotten some of your sins. My goodness. He said, can you fathom the mysteries of God? Can you probe the limits of the Almighty? They are higher than the heavens above. What can you do? Job is sitting here, he's talking, he's saying all this himself. He said, so, and then we go to 10 in the King James, he said, 9, he said, the measure thereof is longer than the earth and the broader than the sea. So he said, it is as high as heaven. He said, canst thou find the Almighty unto perfection? Find out the Almighty unto perfection. He said, it is as high as heaven. What canst thou do? Deeper than hell? What canst thou know? The measure thereof is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. See, I want you to hear what his friends, you know I'm not good at that, are saying, quote, end quote, are saying to him after they sat there and they've listened, they've watched him, they've observed and everything. And so he said, the measure thereof is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he cut off and shut up and gather together, then who can hinder him? He said, for he knoweth vain men, he seeth wickedness also. Will he not then consider it? He said, for vain men would be wise, though man be born like a wild ass's coat. He said, if thou prepare thine heart and stretch out thine hands toward him, if iniquity be in thine hand, put it far away, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacles. For then shalt thou lift up thy face without spot, yea, thou shalt be steadfast and shalt not fear, because thou shalt forget thy misery and remember it as waters that pass away. And see, they're speaking not from experience, but yet they're trying to encourage him, but yet they're condemning him at the same time. So because thou shalt forget thy misery and remember it as waters that pass away, and thine age shall be clearer than the noonday, thou shalt shine forth, thou shalt be as the morning, and thou shalt be secure, because there is hope Yea, thou shalt dig about thee, and thou shalt take thy rest in safety. It's easy to sit on the outside and look in when this is not directly affecting you or me. It's easy for us sometimes to say things and to give advice as we think we should when we're on the outside looking in. And they're saying all these things to this man who's sitting there in these ashes. He's scraping with pieces of pottery, trying to get some ease, trying to get some relief from these boils that are on him, that are all over his body. He's trying to get some relief, and they're finally, after 7 days and 7 nights, they have words to say, okay? And we know this is part of the story. He said, thou shalt lie down, and none shall make thee afraid. Yea, many shall make suit unto thee. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall escape. They shall not escape, excuse me, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. He said, you will be secure. You will lie down with no one to make you afraid, and many will court your favor. But the eyes of the wicked will fail and escape, will elude them. Their hope will become a dying gas. Oh my goodness. Oh my. Wow. So much advice. But what else can they say? They don't know what to say. This man, their friend, is in so much agony and despair. They can't do anything to help him. So they try to add what they can to it to try to give him some kind of relief, maybe. Okay, if you have sinned, man, I have never seen God do this to anybody before if they don't have any sin in them. So there has to be something somewhere that you've done something somewhere. Something had to happen for you to be in this shape. All kinds of things they said to him. And Job answered in the 12th chapter and said, no doubt, but ye are the people, and wisdom shall die with you. He said, doubtless, you are the only people who matter, and wisdom will die with you. He said, but I have understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Oh, talk about it, Joe. I am not inferior to you, yea, who knoweth not such things as thee. He said, but I have a mind as well as you now. He said, I am not inferior to you, who does not know all these things. Who doesn't know all these things? He said, I am as one mocked of his neighbor who calleth upon God. And he answered him. He said, the just upright man is laughed to scorn. He said, I have become a laughing stock to my friends. Though I called on God and he answered a mere laughing stock, though righteous and blameless. And he's still holding on to it, his integrity. He said, I'm still righteous. He said, I know I have not sinned. He said, I'm still blameless. He said, but I have become a laughing stock. Remember, this man had thousands and thousands of livestock. He had 10 children. All his children are gone, everything he had. And now he's sitting in ashes, scraping sores and boils over his body, trying to get some relief. Now the three friends have come there and they are telling him, young man, you know you had to have done something. And they're giving him all this advice. He said, the tabernacles he said, he that is ready to slip his feet is as a lamp despised in the thought of him that is at ease. He said, those who are at ease have contempt for misfortune, as the fate of those whose feet are slipping. The tents of marauders are undisturbed, and those who provoke God are secure. Those God has in his hand. He said, who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this? He said, in whose hand is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind? Doth not the ear try words, and the mouth taste his meat? He said, now, he said, ask the animals and they will teach you. He said, are the birds in the sky and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth and it will teach you. Or let the fish in the sea inform you. Which of all does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? He said, in his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind. In his hands, my breath, my being, your breath, your being, my life, all of that is in the hands of God. And this is what Job is telling them. He said, does not the ear test the words? He said, as a tongue tastes food. He said, is not wisdom found among the aged? Those of us who are aged now, we have wisdom. We can impart to others and help them if they'll listen to us. We can tell them some things that they need to know if they'll listen to us and take it in and use it. It said, to God belong wisdom and power and counsel and understanding are his. He said, what he tears down cannot be rebuilt. Those he imprisons cannot be released. If he holds back the waters, there is drought. If he lets them loose, they devastate the land. And we have it all at the same time going on right now. We have fires, we have drought, we have floods, all at the same time. If he wants to do this, who can stop him from doing? To him belongs strength and insight. Both deceived and deceiver are his. Everybody's his, everything is his. He does what he wants to. He leads rulers away stripped and makes fools of judges. He takes off the shackles put on by kings and ties the loincloth around their waist. He leads priests away stripped and overthrows officials long established. He silences the lips of trusted advisors and takes away the discernment of elders. This is God. He has the power to do all of this. He pours contempt on nobles and disarms the mighty. All power is in the hands of God. All power. And there's a song that we sing, God has all power. He don't need no help. We say he don't need no help. He does not need any help. And remember, trouble doesn't last always, and we're getting there. Trouble does not last always. Even though he's going through these trials, and he's hurting, he's just itching, he's probably burning. All of this is going on because all of these nasty boils and sores are on here because God gave Satan permission, but he told him, don't you touch his life. So Satan couldn't kill him. He said he reveals the deep things of darkness and brings utter darkness into the light. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and disperses them. He deprives the leaders of the earth of their reason. He makes them wander in a tactless waste. They grope in darkness with no light. He makes them stagger like drunkards. This is the God that we serve. Job is letting them know this is God. So there's nothing any of us can do about what he does. He does what he wants to, when he wants to, and how he wants to do it. So we can talk and we can ask questions, we can speculate, we can do all these things. God is God, and what he says and what he does, nobody can do anything about it. So I'm going to come back, and I hope you have gotten out of here what you need. And I know that the scripture says where God sends his word, it accomplishes where he sends it. It will not come back void. So I know that this has been out there, put out for someone today. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you so much. God willing, I'll be back for part three, next week, next Sunday. God bless you. I'm praying that he will continually bless you and keep you. And remember, thank you so much for being with me today. I love you so much. Enjoy your day. Thank you so much. Let me hear